Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tiffany DuBois-Morales, and I'm your host for Cooking with Tiffany. This evening, I have decided to do roasted chicken legs in a teriyaki soy ginger type glaze, roasted onions, and still sitting in our fridge are homemade pickles that, I'll tell you about how to make those yourself in a few minutes. But as of right now, we have our oven set to 425. Our chicken legs are ready to get seasoned, and so I've done initially some black peppercorn because I prefer the texture of black peppercorn to just powdered black pepper, and red pepper flake. In the marinade, we're going to do our teriyaki sauce. It really doesn't matter like what brand you have, or if you make it yourself, which you can. I don't, but we got the stuff. So we got our teriyaki sauce. We have lower soy, gluten-free soy sauce. If you want regular soy sauce, that's perfectly fine. Soy sauce has natural saltiness, so you really don't need a whole lot. All right, our fresh minced ginger. This is something that my husband Eric loves, and I enjoy as well. It is nice, it is fresh, and more importantly, it has a lovely spiciness that just brings alive any dish that you make. If you can't afford already minced ginger, you can always get fresh ginger at your local farmer's market or Whole Food store. Now, I already have some thinly sliced whole cloves of garlic, because garlic is really good for you. It helps aid in digestion. It's great regardless of whether you slice it, mince it, if you confit it whole, which to confit is to cook in its own juices or its own fat. You can find plenty of fresh garlic at Whole Foods Market. And then over here we have some very lightly chopped Italian parsley. Now we mix. All right, now time to add our marinade to the chicken. Now, you might think that this is enough liquid to cook your dish in. Let me tell you now, it's not. So we're going to add just a little bit of water so that the chicken isn't sticking to the bottom of our casserole dishes. And it is kind of ready to go. Now, These onions I've already sliced thinly so we can add them to our chicken. Like I said, I'm just gonna add a little bit of water so that the chicken and the onions and the marinade aren't sticking to the bottom of your pan. If you have concerns about your protein not remaining juicy, then another trick is to add a little olive oil. For me personally, I like to add just a little bit of fresh olive oil to my proteins, especially to chicken, because wherever the olive oil kind of gets drizzled onto the skin will naturally absorb it, and depending on how high of a temp you have your oven, it will make the skin that much more crispy and allow any spices or marinades that you add to it to adhere more fully. So we now have our 2 casserole dishes of whole chicken legs ready to cook, or in this case bake. Like I said, we have our oven set to 425 degrees. It doesn't take that long for things to be cooked at this temperature. So in about, I'd say about half an hour, we're gonna go and check on our chicken legs, and then we can at that point adjust the temperature, change levels of where they're at, or just take it out and allow it to rest before dinner. So cheers. Okay, so we are back now. You might ask, why would you want to make your own homemade pickles? The answer is, why not? Making homemade pickles are actually surprisingly easy, especially if you find a really good recipe. The recipe that I used for the most part was from Cookie and Kate. Serving size that they called for was 12, and you know what, your ingredient list is fairly easy. You got 1 medium to large cucumber or 2 small cucumbers. Now the cucumbers that you use is entirely up to you. We had just plain English, slicing cucumbers, so that's what we wound up using. You don't need to peel them. Some people do, others don't. I didn't peel mine. I like the texture of like proper pickles. So see, you will need vinegar, and then calls for like vinegar, water, depending on if you want them to be less acidic or spicy, then you could add in maple syrup or sugar. We make cocktails at home, so we had simple syrup, which is just equal parts sugar and water that we added just a little bit. The spices that you would be using include fine sea salt, red pepper flake, freshly ground black pepper, or in this case it's going to be those black peppercorns that I like to use on my chicken and really all proteins. That's the main part. Although some call for like whole peppercorns that you don't crush or like pulverize into a powder for your pickle recipe. 2 leafy sprigs of fresh dill, roughly chopped, about 1/4 of a cup. Dill is great. Dill is good. Dill is not the only option though. You still have parsley. You could do cilantro, or for anybody that's English, coriander. You know, you could add in mint. You could do tarragon. There are numerous herbs that you can use in any kind of pickle recipe that you want to do. It just depends on your preference. And then 2 cloves of garlic, peeled and smashed, and 1 bay leaf. Well, I like garlic, but I didn't add any to this. And we have whole mustard seeds that are, you know, at the bottom of the jar. And then there's just a tiny bit of regular bread and butter pickle juice as well. So it's a mix of stuff. But you know, if you make some homemade pickles, feel free to let me know at to DuBois Public Relations LLC.com on YouTube, where this video is going to get posted after it's been edited, and you know, anywhere else that you might find me. So thanks. Oh, one other thing, we reused this jar because we don't have any like regular jars where you can do your own homemade pickles. So these are not, I repeat, bread and butter chips from Whole Foods. Okay, everybody, it's the moment you've been waiting for. The chicken is done. So we wound up having to put the chicken in and roasting it a little bit longer than the 30 minutes. Generally, you want to check every half an hour to 45 minutes, see where it's at, and then if you need to adjust the time to make sure that, you know, your protein is cooked through, great. Just remember that you need to rest your protein for, you know, for at least 5 minutes before you start, you know, slicing into everything. But to describe what we have here, we have beautifully crispy, if you can hear it, chicken legs with the homemade Asian marinade that I came up with, and perfectly caramelized cooked onions, fresh parsley, and as I mentioned earlier, some homemade pickles in the fridge. Generally, people say if you're doing chicken, that means you should have a glass of white wine. We're doing red because, you know, we don't want to really follow the rules when it comes to pairing alcohol with our protein. So we have a lovely glass of red wine that we're going to be having with our dinner. And just remember that it's okay to experiment. It is always a lot of fun to figure out, you know, what you wind up having. And please do not forget to like, comment, and share, and subscribe to Tiffany's Community Spotlight, as well as DuBois Public Relations LLC, and, you know, my little mini subsection, Cooking with Tiffany. Cheers!